In the world of advertising, the 1980s was a time of big budgets, bold ideas, and absolutely no filter. It was an era when companies pushed boundaries, sometimes too far, and created commercials that were controversial, politically incorrect, misleading, and in some cases, downright disturbing. In fact, there's one commercial so bad, so shocking, that we can't even show you the original footage without blurring it out. So grab your leg warmers, crank up your boombox, and let's take a look at the ads that the 80s would rather forget. When you think of the word Ayds, what comes to mind? In the early 1980s, you might have said, Ayds Diet Candy.
Ayds may taste like a candy, but Ayds contains one of the most effective appetite suppressants you can buy.
That's right. A diet product with a name that promised to suppress your appetite and help you lose weight, all while tasting delicious. And at the start of the decade, Ayds was doing fairly well. But then came the mid-1980s and the emergence of the AIDS epidemic. Suddenly, the product's unfortunate name became more than just bad branding. It was now associated with a disease that was spreading rapidly and claiming countless lives. For obvious reasons, the company faced significant backlash. Sales plummeted, and the name became a cruel punchline for late-night TV shows and comedians. The brand scrambled to rebrand itself, attempting names like Diet Ayds. But by then, the damage was done. By the late 1980s, Ayds was pulled from shelves completely, leaving behind one of the most tragic branding disasters in advertising history. What started as a promising weight loss product became a grim reminder of how timing and a name can change everything. In the 1980s, Camel cigarettes introduced Joe Camel, a cartoon mascot designed to make smoking look cool. But there was one big problem. Joe looked too cool. Critics argued that this cartoon wasn't appealing to adults. It was targeting kids. Studies even showed that Joe was just as recognizable to children as Mickey Mouse. The backlash was fierce, and by the late 80s, Joe Camel became the face of a scandal. Anti-smoking groups sued, laws tightened, and by 1997, Joe was officially retired.
Hello, boys and girls. It's me, the Frito Bandito.
Meet the cartoon mascot for Fritos corn chips. Launched in the late 60s, he stuck around into the 80s, until the backlash caught up. This pistol-toting mascot was supposed to be funny, but instead, he offended Mexican-American groups for perpetuating harmful stereotypes. After years of complaints, growing pressure from advocacy groups, and even protests, the mascot was finally retired in the early 80s. But not before leaving a sour taste in advertising history. If you thought those other ads were bad, just wait. Because this next one takes things to a whole new level. It's for a product called Love's Baby Soft Perfume. And, well, why don't you just take a look?
There's one person nobody can resist, and that's a baby. So Love made Baby Soft, with the innocent scent of a cuddly, clean baby that grew up very sexy, in foaming bath, body lotion, body powder, and body mist. So innocent it may well be the sexiest fragrance around. Love's Baby Soft, because innocence is sexier than you think. For your baby at Christmas.
What were they thinking? Many people found the messaging troubling, arguing that it blurred the line between childhood innocence and mature themes in a way that made audiences uncomfortable. I mean, they literally tried to make grown adults look like babies. If that isn't bizarre, then I don't know what is. The backlash was swift, with critics accusing the campaign of being tone-deaf and crossing a line that no product should cross. It wasn't long before the company quietly retired the ad, leaving it as one of the most uncomfortable moments in advertising history.
Jeff Wooler of Australia!
Amélia Teixeira do Brasil.
Yeah, I'm not sure this would fly today. This was a campaign by United Colors of Benetton, which is a clothing company. However, in the 1980s, Benetton shifted from simply promoting fashion to creating ad campaigns that tackled heavy topics like inequality, health crises, and conflict. While their goal was to spark conversation, many of their ads ended up sparking something else: outrage. One of their most infamous ads featured a black woman breastfeeding a white baby. Critics argue that while the company claimed to be promoting unity, the execution felt offensive and exploitative. Many of Benetton's ads during this time walked a fine line between thought-provoking and offensive. Some praised the boldness, while others felt the campaigns used sensitive topics to grab attention and sell clothes. In 1981, Calvin Klein featured Brooke Shields in a commercial that was designed to, let's just say, grab attention. Doesn't seem that bad, right? Well, she was only 15 at the time. Critics were quick to point out how inappropriate the campaign was, sparking debates about the ethics of using minors in advertising. The ad was eventually pulled, but not before it became one of the most controversial commercials of the decade. Even today, it remains a textbook example of advertising gone too far.
Hardee's new roast beef sandwich, leaner than ever, tender.
In the 1980s, Hardee's decided to go all in on the manly man image, launching an ad campaign exclusively targeting men. Think steak, burgers, and a whole lot of testosterone, because apparently no women ever eat fast food, right? Predictably, the campaign sparked backlash for being blatantly sexist and alienating half their customer base. Hardee's may have wanted to double their beef, but they ended up biting off more than they could chew. So far, the ads we've seen have been extremely controversial. Commercials and campaigns that ignited lawsuits, backlash, and even protest. The 80s was a time with slim advertising policies and guidelines, making it a playground for this kind of advertising. But loose regulations didn't just allow for controversy, it also opened the door for misleading and scam-like commercials. Let's take a deeper look at some of the commercials from the 80s that came off as just downright scams.
Perhaps only once or twice in our lifetime, a truly remarkable product comes along that changes conventional thinking and dramatically improves our lives. Hello, I'm John Early. In the next few moments, you're going to discover a product so unique, it can change the way you feel forever. And I have it right here. This is a Q-ray ionized bracelet. On the surface, it appears to be just a normal attractive bracelet that's extremely flexible and durable. But it's what's inside this bracelet that you cannot see that makes this Q-ray ionized bracelet so remarkable. In truth, less than a handful of people in the entire world know the exact process used to make these ionized bracelets. The secret is so closely guarded. But we do know this. The powerful effects this bracelet can bring to people who wear it are truly extraordinary.
Q-ray bracelets were a so-called revolutionary product that claimed to balance your body's bioenergy and cure aches and pains. Sounds too good to be true? That's because it was. Marketed as a cutting-edge health accessory, the Q-ray bracelet became a sensation in the 80s. But there was just one problem. It didn't actually do anything. By the early 2000s, lawsuits caught up with the company, with the Federal Trade Commission stepping in to crack down on their claims. In 2006, a federal court ruled that the company had to refund over $16 million to customers, calling the bracelet nothing more than a placebo. So, if you were hoping to wear a bracelet and magically cure all your aches and pains, the Q-ray wasn't the answer, unless you count curing your wallet of a little extra cash.
Well, so many people have called psychic friends. Why is it so popular?
Well, I suppose because we do have the best psychics in the entire world. And we can call them anytime we want by just picking up the phone and dialing the number.
You mean anyone can call at any time?
Any time at all, 24 hours a day. And,
In the late 1980s, a new kind of infomercial began flooding late-night TV. The Psychic Friends Network. For just a few dollars a minute, you could call a 1-900 number and get life-changing advice from professional psychics, or so they claimed. The ads promised to connect you with gifted psychics who could solve all your problems, whether it was love, money, or your future. But there was just one small problem. The psychics weren't exactly real. As complaints piled up, it became clear that many of these so-called psychics were just reading from generic scripts designed to keep callers on the line as long as possible. By the mid-1990s, lawsuits and investigations revealed the entire operation was more about making money than making predictions. At its peak, the Psychic Friends network raked in over $100 million a year. But after facing fraud lawsuits and accusations of exploiting vulnerable people, the company went bankrupt by 1998. Turns out the real prediction was about how quickly they'd disappear.
In Japan, the hand can be used like a knife. But this method doesn't work with a tomato. That's why we use the Ginsu. It's a knife that no kitchen should be without. The Ginsu can cut a slice of bread so thin you can almost see through it.
In the late 70s and 80s, Ginsu Knives became the gold standard for over-the-top infomercials. With its flashy demonstrations and dramatic claims, this product wasn't just a kitchen tool, it was a TV phenomenon. The commercials promised a knife so sharp it could cut through metal, and for just $9.95 it could be yours, with a bonus set of steak knives thrown in. While Ginsu Knives weren't necessarily a scam, they did lean heavily on exaggerated claims and gimmicks. Critics questioned whether a knife could really maintain its edge after cutting through a pipe, or if it was just clever editing. And yet, those bold claims worked. The Ginsu knife campaign sold millions of units and became one of the most successful infomercials of all time. But its marketing also set the tone for a wave of similar, too-good-to-be-true products. So, was Ginsu really as amazing as it looked? Maybe not. But if nothing else, it taught us one thing: the power of a good tomato slice.
If you're concerned about your thinning hair, call Hair Club for Men and receive our free brochure. Learn how Hair Club's non-surgical polyfuse method gives you the freedom you've always wanted. Your new hair will look and feel like a part of you.
I did not ask to lose my hair, and for a long period of time I thought that I would have no choice. And with Hair Club, I do have that choice.
Speaking of over-the-top commercials, who remembers Hair Club for Men? This company became a household name in the 1980s with its dramatic transformations and that iconic line, "I'm not only the Hair Club president, I'm also a client." The commercials promised men a chance to regain their hair and their confidence. And for just a phone call, you could get a personalized consultation to find the perfect solution. But here's the catch. It wasn't just about a quick fix. Hair Club's methods combined everything from hair pieces to surgical techniques, and the results didn't always live up to the hype. Some customers accused the company of unclear pricing and being locked into expensive long-term contracts. Lawsuits even alleged misleading advertising practices. Despite the backlash, Hair Club for Men built an empire, raking in millions and becoming one of the most recognizable names in personal care. As you can tell, the 80s were full of commercials that pushed boundaries and sometimes misled their viewers. Whether it was bold claims, over-the-top infomercials, or downright controversial campaigns, these ads left their mark on history. Did you ever try any of these products, or do you remember seeing any of these ads? Let us know in the comments below. And if you can think of any other commercials that seemed a little bizarre, let us know. We just might feature them in our next video.